Hello everyone, my name's Sheehan and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Brisbane, Queensland. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. The things we'll need are a piece of Dapper denim cardstock measuring 5 7/8 of an inch by 8 1/4 inches, a piece of silver foil sheet measuring 5 6/8 of an inch by 4 inches, and a piece of soft sky measuring 5 5/8 of an inch by 3 7/8 of an inch. The stamp set that I'm featuring for this card is in our new catalogue that's due out on the 1st of June, and it's called Sea of Textures, and I'm using the octopus and this sea plant here. I'm also using the bowler hat from the stamp set called Guy Greetings. I'm using another new stamp set called In Every Season, and I'm just using 3 of the bunches of flowers here for that. And my sentiment comes from an old stamp set called Crazy About You. There are other stamp sets in the catalogue that I'm sure people have that you could utilise just as well to do your happy birthday banner, but this is one I happen to have and I will be getting some new ones. Okay, the other thing we'll be using is the Under the Sea framelit dies, and that's to cut out our octopus. So that's this die here, and also the Seaside Textures Impressions embossing folder, and that's for our background here. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just going to bring in a piece of scrap paper, and the first thing I'm going to do is stamp the sea plants. Now, I'm using Mossy Meadow, and this is coming back into our catalogue. Excuse me. We're reintroducing it, so I happen to have the stamp pad, so it's one I thought I would use. And you're going to stamp just randomly wherever you like, but do the extra stamping with it just to give a bit of background so that the sea grasses look like they've got some depth and distance behind them. Go there. You can do as much or as little as you like. You don't have to do what I'm doing. You can do whatever you like. Okay, having done that, I'm going to pop it into the embossing folder, and we'll get that done. Now, with this embossing folder, there's 2 ways you can have this. If you look at my card here, and then I did it both sides, and then I looked at it and I thought, do I want it embossed or debossed? And I didn't really want the background to detract from the octopus, so I've done it this way. I think this one stands out more, but I wanted the octopus to be the focus. So that one goes into the embossing folder this way up, and then that gets run through. Now I've already got one done here, so we're right to go with that. The next thing we need to do is to get our... Oh, the other thing I didn't tell you was you just need a scrap of white cardstock, just so that you can stamp all these, the octopus and the flowers and so forth on that. So I've just got a piece here, and I'm going to first of all remember to use my embossing buddy, and with my Versamark ink pad I'm going to do the octopus first. Cut him up well and pop him down there. Okay, so that we get a good impression of him. Then I'll bring in my silver embossing powder and just sprinkle it over him. and that came out really nicely. The other thing I'm going to do at the same time is the flowers, and I've already got them set on a block here. So some more Versamark ink because I want to emboss these as well. They'll be embossed in silver also. So I'm just going to pop them on there. And we'll use our silver embossing powder. Fix those ones up. There we go. And they've come up well too. Right, just a little bit of noise. I'll try and keep it as low as I can. But I just need to add some heat to these to get that beautiful change that occurs. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but the octopus is fairly distinctive, so when it turns, here we go. Beautiful. And the same with the flowers. There we go, all done. Hope you can see that. Comes up really nicely. Okay. Now, what I will do, I'll just finish off the embossing. I'm using the Duo punch here, banner punch, and I'm just going to punch out the pieces ready to do the stamping on them as well. Now, what I like to do is just gently bend that stamp, and the other thing I've learned is that you don't press too hard on these sentiments, otherwise they tend to kind of blur a bit. So there's happy, and I'll just and as usual I forgot to use the embossing buddy. I'm going to have to get my little paintbrush here. Just fix that up a bit. There we go. And then I do the same with birthday. Just give it just a slight little bend if you can stick it to your block, and just sit that on there, and again don't press too hard. Okay, and I didn't embossing buddy that one either. I should listen to what I say. There we go. Not too bad though. Alright, just pop the lid on that, and we'll heat these ones up as well. That's better. Okay, they've both come up well. Okay, I'll pop those over there. Right, tidy up here a bit, and we'll get going. Now, next thing we need to do is to colour these flowers, and I'm using this beautiful dark pineapple punch. I like to use the brush end. I'm going to do this flower. The embossing powder, or the embossing now, actually is really good because you sort of fill in the lines, so you've got a little border there for your colouring in. It's nice and quick with these blends too. The centre of that I'm going to do with the dark pumpkin pie. And I really love using the brush end of these. Oops, a little bit over there. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is the stems and leaves. And again, it's just a matter of filling in here. They come up beautifully with the embossing around them. I have used the black ink, but I find, and I don't know if anybody else does, that the colour of the black tends to affect the colour of the blends a little bit, and so I found by using embossing powder it worked better for me, and I actually like the look of it better. So there we go. And oh, I better do this last one. Sorry if you find it awkward watching a left-hander. People often say to me, oh, that looks so awkward, but I'm left-handed and that's the way it is. They tried to change me at school and they couldn't. So I am a true lefty. Okay, I love this real red, so I'm going to do this beautiful flower in the real red. It's such a nice vibrant red. I prefer it to dull reds. My car is a nice red like this too. There we go, that one's done. And the last one, I'm using the dark and light rich raspberry. And just the main part of the flower I'm doing with the light rich raspberry. And then I'm going to do the buds, these lovely flower buds, in the darker, but also just do some highlight bits here and there, because so many flowers aren't just one colour, they have nice bits of colour in them. So light and shade, there we go, just gives it a nice look. Next thing, I will have to fussy cut these flowers out, and this one goes through the big shot, and what I've done is I've done that already just to save some time, and I've cut the octopus out, and I've also punched a hole through here and down here, just so that when the flowers go on, it looks like they're being held in their tentacles. It's not something you have to do, but it's something I do. I also clip in there, just so that when he holds the banner, it goes up straight. The banner itself, I like to get a bit of dapper denim and a sponge and just sponge around the edges of this, just so it's not quite so stark on the page. I've got ink all over me today. I've been having a bit of a play with a lot of things. I just wanted the edge to show and the white not to be so stark against the soft sky. There we go. Just quickly round that. And also, excuse me, just this little strip I cut for the banner. Again, I'll just do a little bit down that just to take the starkness off it. Don't have to put a lot on there, but it just looks better, I think, with a bit of colour. This is a longer strip, but then you can cut it off once you position it on the card. Alright, so I'll put this away, and I think we're pretty right to start constructing this card. So we get our Dapper Denim cardstock and fold it in half, burnish that down, and then with your foil sheet, so that you don't waste the foil, or so that you can use the foil that sits in the middle here that doesn't get seen, I like to cut the center out, and that gives me a piece to do something with on another card, and then I can just lay this one down on here. So I'll just do that now. It doesn't affect the card in any way, and it gives you a bit more of the foil card to use. I just like to be thrifty with the products, and I think this is a good way to do it. It doesn't affect the card in any way, so why not? Okay, we'll just pop that on. Using Tombow gives us the opportunity to give the card a little bit of wiggle room so that it, oops, there's a few fingerprints on there which I will fix later. Okay, that goes on there, and then the piece that we did, which I just momentarily lost, oh there it is, will go on here, and that will sit there nicely. So we'll pop that on. Again, using Tombow. Really like Tombow. Just make sure I get it down the edge as well. And we'll pop that on. There we go. And again, we've got that little bit of wriggle time just to make sure it's on there nicely. Press that down. There we go. That's done. Right. Then we get our octopus. Just lay them on there for the moment. And what we'll do is we'll slide that sign in there. Like that, just so it looks like he's holding it, and we can actually glue that a little bit, just put a little dab under there. You don't need much, just a tiny little bit, just to help keep it in place. There we go. And just press that down for a minute. Whoops, oh, it's going to fall out. Hang on. Because I put so little on there, it just got to be careful that it's got time to hang on. Alright. I think that's good. So then when we can sit that on there, straighten it up a bit and see where we want to put our banner. So we'll put the birthday there. And the happy about there, I think, is good. So Just put a little bit on there. Make sure you don't get it on the card itself because we're going to lift this up again. The whole thing's going to go on dimensionals. So there's happy. And then we'll put birthday here. Just give that a second to dry too because there's not a lot of glue there holding it at the moment. Just carefully slide that off and we'll chop all that off in a minute. Okay, now I'm just looking for the pieces I did earlier. There they are. There's our flowers, which I have fussy cut out. It's one thing I really do not enjoy doing is fussy cutting, but has to be done sometimes. And also I didn't stamp the bowler hat, so all I'm going to do is just ink up the bowler hat and just pop that on here. And what I did with this, because again it's one that has to be fussy cut out, I also made the hat darker. I actually coloured it a bit more just using some black ink because I wanted it to be a little bit more bold. Okay, so I'll just put that there, and then when you colour it, it turns out like that. And again, fussy cut. Bit frustrating. I'm not a fan, but I do it. Alright, put the lid on the glue because we're now going to use dimensionals. I can cut this off now. Okay, that's done there. And if you want to, you can put a little bit of glue under there too, just to hold it steady. But just a minute drop, you don't need much at all. Okay, so we'll set that down for a minute, let it dry. Okay, dimensionals. So turn him over and put some dimensionals on here. I actually put a few on this just to make him solid because he's got the flowers coming off him. And then using some of the side pieces that we have, I just nip those and put those in a few places as well. These come in really handy. Don't ever throw these away. They're so useful. I'll put one down there. And one in the middle there. That'll just hold it nicely. Maybe one down on that bottom leg there too. Down here. There we go. Whoops. Alright. Oh, and also on the back of the banner, of course. One there. One there. There. And there. Okay, so take all these off. I have to be more tidy. I tend to end up with bits everywhere. I'm sure other people are very, very neat, but my desk always ends up fairly messy by the end of doing something like this. I always tell myself I'll be more organised, but it still turns into chaos. Okay, there we go. Right, we're ready to sit that on the card. I'm going to sit that on about there. Just pop those down. And now we can put our flowers on. And where I've punched that little hole there, I can just pop that in there, and I'll take the dimensionals off the back. And so I'm popping it into his tentacles there. And there we go. It just sits down on there. And then this one, I'll take these off and pop that one on this side, and I'm going to pop that one in here. And so that looks like he's holding that one. And then the last one, I just tuck underneath that one there. And so that one's up in the air. Right, last thing, a little bit of Tombow on the bowler hat. Pop that on his head with a bit of a tilt. It's got style. And the very last thing are just some pearls. And I just place those randomly around a few spots, which aren't going to pick up particularly well today. I'll pop that one on around about there. One in the middle, and maybe one up in the top corner. There we go. Stay down there. Alright, and that is my card for today. So thank you for staying along and watching, and if you need a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd be more than happy to be your demonstrator if you need one. And thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.